Warning, the following is entirely satirical and should not be taken as truth or fact. Styles Rebel Radio and the Rebel Podcast do not own any copyrighted material that may be included in this broadcast. Viewer discretion is advised.
You're about 30 years too late for the meatloaf, Chet.
Right.
Suspend the show right now.
You're gonna zipline directly into the harpoon?
Yeah.
What do you know about planes?
I know a lot about planes.
Buckle in, dude. It's gonna suck.
Put your hand on the screen.
How did they find out? Who was the one?
This show has gotten infinitely more gay.
The mystical land of New Jersey.
I don't understand how the laws in this country work anymore.
Welcome to the Rebel Radio Show, live, uncut, and uncensored on WSRR Radio. We're saving the underground music scene. To my right, Shaney.
Hey, everyone.
On the board is Jules.
Hello.
I'm Radio's Rebel DJ Style. 216-859-8699. That number to text in. Again, that's 216-859-8699 during the show or 24/7, 365, whatever you're listening to on WSRR Radio. You can use the Rebel hotline. Again, we're brought to you today by GenericClothes.com, Clearview Windows, and Synergy Music Studio out of Chicago. Just so you know, if we disappear during the show, we'll be back in 30 years.
We won't know what happened to us.
No, but we'll be right back here on a Monday.
Yeah, that's just as you left us.
Yeah. What's going on with this guy?
Same with Vasil Gorgos.
That's my guy right there.
Yeah, that's the OG. It doesn't say where this took place. But this man, Vasil, was 63 years old when he left his... Oh, it's Romania. When he left his home in eastern Romania. This was in 1991, and he did not return for 30 years. But then, August 29th, 2021, 3 decades after Vasil's disappearance, his family was faced with the ultimate plot twist. A car stopped in front of their home, the same one that they had seen for the past 30, or the same one they had for the past 30 years, and stepped out an old man looking confused. The man was none other than 93-year-old Vasil, wearing the same clothes he left in all those years ago, his pockets even containing the same train ticket with that he was due to travel with.
That's weird.
Right, and so the car allegedly raced off before anyone has a chance to question the driver, but when asked where he'd been, a baffled Vasil replied that he'd been, quote, at home.
This man's experiencing the multiverse
That's
right
what
in
I'm
front of our
saying.
eyes.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey, I'm just saying, I was told last night, CERN restarted their particle accelerator.
Oh, dear God. Here we
just
go
a couple
again,
days
baby.
ago. So, maybe this is direct correlation. I don't know when the story's from, but
I was
maybe this is
just
direct correlation.
This is sidestepping a little bit, but I want to talk about it for a second because I don't know if we've ever talked about it on air, but the whole concept of residue from like Mandela effect.
Oh, residuals?
Yeah, residuals,
Yeah.
residue. Yeah. I think that I just explained that to someone the other day, and like I was showing them like the cornucopia on the Fruit of the Loom logo and stuff, and I was like, people have found stuff that people have found Fruit of the Loom products that has this.
Well, people have like TV guides that have like Berenstain Bears on it instead of Berenstain Bears and things like that. So there are like residual parallel universe shit out there, and that's the crazy part. Like this is a long time ago now, but I watched a video on it, a video essay on the Mandela effect on YouTube a couple of years ago, and the guy literally had a Curious George stuffed animal that had a tail on it, that he showed on camera. He's like, here it is, right here. Curious George had a tail. He's a monkey. Why wouldn't he have a tail?
Right.
But yeah, residuals are fucking crazy. This guy's a living residual.
He is. He's a living residual.
So he was in the same clothes 30 years later.
Same clothes. Apparently, it was the same car that he left in.
Which is interesting because it says he has a train ticket that he was supposed to go on a train.
Yeah.
Where was he supposed to go is my question.
Was the driver also in this 30-year blip?
Well, that's the thing. So, from my understanding, he left driving the car, but then he's dropped off in this car.
From what I understand is he was picked up by this car 30 years ago. And then finally dropped off.
He was okay. So hang on, because I'm trying to piece this together too.
Yeah,
because it mentions that he had a train ticket of the train that he was supposed to board 30 years ago. So was he getting picked up to be dropped off at the train station?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
And also, I guess the ticket was never collected, so he never got on the train.
Right.
So they need to talk to the train people.
He never got on the train. Doesn't
he never
matter.
he never got on the train. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So he underwent like medical examination, and they took him to the doctors, and the doctor said that he was in good health. He had like normal neurological issues that any 95, 93-year-old would have, but other than that,
so he was already 63 when he disappeared. Like this isn't like a dude in his 20s showing back up and is an elderly man now.
Right. He was already kind of old, and then he got way older. And the weird thing, like, so his memory of everything before that 30-year blip essentially was fine. Like, he remembered everything near perfectly.
So he literally came home. He's like, "What's for dinner, honey?"
Yeah, right.
And she's like, "Where have you been for 30 years?"
Yeah, right.
You're about 30 years too late for the meatloaf, Chet.
Right.
Whatever his name was.
Vasil or something like
close.
that. Yeah,
Chet,
Vasil. Right.
Vasil, probably Vasil.
But yeah, and so they have theories. The family has theories.
Yeah.
They're
well, I would hope so, and they haven't just moved on. Like, well, guess it's back to work.
So the first theory was that Vasil was simply decided to ditch his family, and like have a lover and run away.
That seems seems like the most logical, but he's also 63.
Yeah, right. That's kind of the part that's like, well, are you doing that?
Right.
Are you doing that in your 60s? I guess.
Vasil is apparently.
Yeah. So, another theory is that he may have been dumped by the person he ran away with, and then like accepting that he got older and he wanted people to take care of him. He just was like,
time to come home.
Yeah. He was like, well, I don't want to be old and alone, so I'll be old with you guys. And then the third theory, which would explain how he retained his clothing, is that he had spent 30 years in jail and didn't want to tell his family, didn't want anyone to know.
You know, honestly, at the start of this, I thought him running away to be with someone else for 30 years is probably the most likely.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the jail theory might be most likely.
Right, because
he's got the same clothes, he's got the same possessions, they return everything they took out of your pockets to you when you leave.
Right.
I don't know who gave him the ride, but...
maybe he had a secret jail sentence that he didn't want his family to know about.
I'm thinking maybe it's like his old drinking buddy or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, I got to be at jail in the morning. I'm going to buy this train ticket for work. So my family thinks I'm going to work on the train or somewhere on this train.
Yeah.
I need you to drop me off at the county jail. And then he gets dropped off at the county jail for 30 years and calls the same guy to be like, hey, man, it's been 30 years.
You still kicking? Come pick me up from jail, man.
The only phone number he knew by heart.
That is crazy that happens, though. Like, you drop someone off.
Apparently it does.
Well, I mean, think about it. If that probably has happened before, of like, you called someone or someone called you, dropped them off in jail, and then 20 years later, you get a call from a random number, and they're like, hey, man, can you, like, take me home from jail? I'm done now. My time is done. Like, damn, all right, sure.
It's
come pick you up.
When you're like 7 or 8, and it's like, well, my mom will drop me off if yours will pick us up.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, if you drop me off, you better be ready to pick me up in 30 years.
Yeah. I dropped him off at jail, so I guess I do have to pick him up in about 15 years now.
He just asked for a ride. He didn't ask if it was one way or both ways. So just to be safe, I might as well go pick him up.
What do you guys think? What is the likely theory?
I like the jail theory. I feel like that works out the best.
I feel like the jail theory works best too.
My issue with both
He's
of
well
them.
fed.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, he's not in bad health. It's other than him not remembering 30 years of his life.
Right.
But like, the jail theory makes sense just based on his belongings. However, there'd be some kind of jail record, right?
You would think.
But on the flip side of that, if he ran away to be with someone else, I'm sure this dude had a bank account somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Have they looked at his bank records? Like, also 30 years is definitely long enough to pronounce someone dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing this is like my overarching thing that I think about with stuff like this is like, it was so easy to fake your death or to like run away, like literally 20-30 years ago.
Yeah.
You could just like
before the towers.
Yeah, before the towers. You could like move literally a state over and no one would know where you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. You do it, start a whole new life. Nowadays you can't do that sort of thing. It's kind of wild.
I mean, I guess you could like just completely dissociate from your phone number and social media and do that.
You could, yeah, but I feel like if someone wanted to find you in today's day and age, they probably could. They could probably find a way to
reverse image search you.
Yeah,
something.
right. Yeah,
not this guy though.
No. He was gone. He left his family, and that's the other thing. It doesn't say if he had like kids or. I'm assuming that he had like a wife and kids, and he was 63. So
right, he came back to someone.
right.
So like they'd probably moved on for the past 30 years.
Imagine if they would have moved out.
But if you're in your 60s and like your significant other
Right.
is gone, you're like, well,
Again, it's I feel like there's something at play where they knew that he was at least alive. Because
you think
the
the family was in on it.
Well, they didn't pronounce him dead. That's my whole thing.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of months that go by before you can like legally pronounce someone dead. This dude spent 30 years missing, and the cops and the family weren't like, all right, it's time to call it. Like, they had some kind of activity of this man being alive somehow, I think.
I see that. That makes sense.
Because I think that's the biggest red flag to me. Is like, he goes missing, and then that's it. The family was cool.
Right.
They're like, well,
Family's like, oh man,
Pawpaw's missing.
big mystery. I guess we'll move on with
Yeah,
our
guess
lives.
we'll never know.
Yeah.
30 years later, he's back, and they're like, well, I guess he's back.
Yeah, they knew.
This is the most relaxed family ever.
Yeah, yeah. Like, well, good to have you back, I guess. Welcome home. Yeah, that makes sense. The family was in on it. They had to have been.
I would have loved to be there for like the next 24 hours once he got back. He just
Yeah.
walks in the door, goes to the kitchen, gets a snack.
Yeah. What's up? How you guys been?
Well, if he thinks it's
What's been
still-
going on?
Comes back with milk.
Yeah.
if he thinks it's still like 30 years before, is that what his mind is at?
I think that he probably knows that time has passed.
He is the mastermind here.
Yeah.
Because like
and I
everybody's
think
gonna
also
look weird.
yeah, I also think that you're a mark now. I think that
You worked yourself into a shoot, brother.
yeah, I think you're the mark now. I think I think it's all a ruse. I think it's all a big illustrious ruse on us.
Yeah.
And the family and him are in on it, that like something happened for 30. Oh, I was disappeared for 30 years. And the family's like, yeah, he disappeared.
What if the wife knew?
Wink, wink.
Like, what if he did go to jail and the wife knew, and that's why there wasn't a big deal of it for 30 years, but she never told the kids?
Yeah.
And so he shows back up 30
Yeah.
years later, and the kids are like,
Where have you been?
And neither of them are willing to say that he was in jail.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, well, good to see you, honey. Glad I'm home.
So you want to go to Denny's later? Or?
Yeah.
Well, he's got a family, or he's got a picture with, I'm assuming to be his family.
Yeah, that looks like it's his.
Maybe like a wife and kid or something like that.
That looks like it's his kids. I would assume
Okay.
They look both like significantly younger than him. Yeah, I feel like this is all some kind of big ruse. Now that I'm getting more context and reading between the lines myself, doing our own investigative research.
Well, that's the thing, is how is there not more context to this? On any part. The
Yeah,
police,
right.
the hospital, the family. Like,
why does no one care?
Yeah.
Why is this not a big deal?
this is the kind of news story you see like your local news station cover, and the mom at the end is like, we're just glad he's home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. What? Yeah,
Why?
no, that's a good
Why
point.
are you just glad he's home?
There
Figure
needs
out
to
where
be-
the fuck he was for
Well,
30 years.
You're telling me that Thanos blipped for 30 years and came back and was
Right.
like, hey guys.
Imagine you come to the studio one Monday and I'm just not here. And then 30 years later, I just come back and like, well, you guys ready for next
You guys
Monday?
ready for Monday? You guys got some good topics?
We're just like, what the?
What the hell?
There would be more of an uprising there. This,
Yeah, this is pretty wild. And yeah, it is weird that there is not a bigger hubbub about this from literally anyone. Yeah, that is weird. The police are like, whatever. The family's like, whatever. He's like, yeah, whatever.
Because I even looked it up.
Mhm.
When we were getting ready, I'm like, what other like missing persons cases have people just shown back up? Because this isn't something you hear about.
Yeah, right.
And usually when they show back up, they have like a horror story to tell about
Yeah,
it.
I was locked in a basement.
Yeah.
And this person,
Or they're
whatever.
presumed dead or
Yeah.
something like that. So like the only things that came up were missing children reports, like
Yeah,
the
right.
milk carton kids,
Right.
and whatever happens to them. And everyone in the comments of all those are probably like, well, they're probably dead
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
been 20 years they've been missing. They're probably
Right,
dead.
Right.
This dude in his 60s goes missing
Yeah.
and just shows back up in his 90s.
What a fucking badass. He said, fuck all your missing reports. I'm still here, bitch.
I wonder
ain't
if there
left.
were even missing reports. Because like imagine, because
yeah, it said this is one missing persons report that is happily ending.
it was a missing persons report.
Yeah.
So he showed back up in the car he was taken in.
Yeah,
so
that's
assumingly he was in town or like in a near proximity to get there by car.
Well, and then the car, it's weird, it's strange to me. It's something like out of a movie where he gets out of the car and the car peels off behind
it's
him.
some Men in Black shit.
Right, like what? Who dropped him off? Who dropped him off?
Did we get a plate? Like,
Right, what the hell's going on? What kind of mystery is this?
why aren't they identifying this vehicle to the police?
Yeah, right. It's just like,
They're
I
just
don't know
like,
where I
oh.
was.
I don't even know who was driving.
Yeah, I just popped out here. I'm just here now.
Did he call a taxi service 30 years ago? Can we call it that
Well,
car?
it's the
service?
same car.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Do they have a missing car?
Hey,
Do they know where
taxis,
it went?
taxis don't keep the same car for 30 years.
Yeah.
Did it look exactly the same? No rust, no condition?
Yeah, that's crazy. Someone kept this car nice for 30 years too.
So here, let me find it.
Like we don't know the make and model how old this car was to begin with, but someone kept it nice for 30 years too.
So the article reads, goodbye.
216-859-8699. Text in. Let me know where you've been for the past 30 years.
Hi, this is Melissa,
And hey, it's Matt.
coming at you from Synergy Music Studio.
We are a recording and production studio located on the south side near Chicago.
Check us out online at synergymusicstudio.com. We offer recording, mixing, and mastering.
And follow us on Instagram at Synergy Music Studio. Rock hard.
I'm the Pidge. Time isn't real. Oh, wait, this is the wrong show. I'm talking about The Pigeonhole, everybody. Comes out once a month. Send some stuff into the Styles Rebel Radio Discord page. I will give my such beautiful 2 cents on it. I know you guys care so much for give me some slack. I like doing this.
The Artificial Intelligence Podcast is the only show written, voiced, and scored entirely by AI. All episodes are available now on StylesRebelRadio.com.
Styles Rebel Radio. Read the sign. 15 for dudes. Girls get in free past 7.
I think maybe the guy left to get some chicken wings.
Hopefully he comes back.
He's
That's all
like-
I care about.
He's like, guys, I'm just going out to get a sixer of wings.
Gonna go get a 6-pack of tendies.
Yeah.
You guys need any honey butter biscuits?
And then he went to this lady's house.
Had a bunch of them.
Had quite a few wings. Some would say $1.5 million worth of wings.
See, I want to know. I want to quantify that. I want a chicken wing quantify that. How many wings did she steal?
So she was the food service director for the suburban school district, and she stole $1.5 million worth of food, mainly chicken wings.
Okay. So it wasn't entirely chicken wings.
Correct.
Still, though, that's a lot. So, from my understanding, then, with that, she was like the head lunch lady of this school district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is
She's
Lady
the
Lunch.
food orderer.
Yeah, she orders the food.
So
Interesting.
the
All right, well,
massive
so hang on. Let me, real quick, before we get deeper into this, let me just say, I think we've all worked some kind of job at some point where, you know,
It's true, I have.
you get your hands on the little ordering machine and you're like, hey, we don't really need 2 snow shovels, but I could use a snow shovel. So I'm going to order 2 snow shovels
Okay.
and I'm going to keep a snow shovel.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. Something along those lines.
This is a bit extreme. This is more than snow shovel from Uline. This lady's
Yeah.
like, I need $1.9 million worth of chicken wings from the school's website.
Yeah, I feel like. How did you take that many in without people noticing that it was like
Yeah.
a weekly? Because I'm assuming she's ordering food weekly or bi-weekly.
Sure.
It's probably not monthly because
You're
it's
right.
fresh food, or at least it's frozen food.
I'd hope it's fresh food.
Yeah.
Some relatively fresh food.
Right. And I mean, like, it's all probably from like the same food distributor.
Right.
You know, it's just probably one
Restaurant Depot or some shit.
type shit, right?
So basically,
Oh, so yeah, I wonder if she was ordering from a website or if she was going to the place herself and had like an individual checklist.
You know, that makes more sense
And then,
because then
like-
she could just like put it in her car. And
Right.
leave.
Oh, okay. So I have answers.
Okay.
This all started during COVID when the students were not allowed to be in school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Makes sense.
They were still providing the remote learners with food, and
that's very nice of the
That's
school.
a wild concept.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool of the school
Yeah.
district to do that, to still give out lunches to kids, because I'm assuming the kids probably
Paid for lunches.
well, yeah, paid and probably needed those
Yeah.
lunches too.
so this lady was accused of ordering more than 11,000 cases of chicken wings
Oh my gosh.
from the school's local food provider, and then picking them up in in a district cargo van.
Okay.
So she had a kid transporter van,
yeah.
picked up how many cases of chicken wings?
11,000.
11,000 cases of chicken wings.
I'm assuming that's not all like
Yeah, not at once.
You know, that's
probably
over
stretched over a year.
yeah, over the course of probably like a year or something like that.
The food was never brought to the school or provided to the students.
Oh my gosh.
The district the district had to pay for the food.
Yeah.
And it never revealed like why, or
What?
they never even asked her why the chicken wings were never.
They never asked her
provided,
what was up. They never questioned her about what was up. They never noticed.
If it
essentially.
wasn't 11,000 cases, she could have gotten away with it, in my opinion.
The scheme was
If she was
uncovered.
like, well, hang on. If she was like, I'm gonna order 2 or 3 cases of chicken wings, and I'll just say, oh, the chicken wings went bad or something, or we decided to do sloppy joes instead today.
Sure.
That's reasonable. If you're getting 11,000 cases of chicken wings, and there's never chicken wings being made,
Yeah.
that raises some red flags.
Well, and you would think at some point the students would start to raise question of like, hey, aren't
We haven't had chicken wings in a long
yeah,
time.
well, like lunch in general. It said that she wasn't delivering like
Food at all?
the food was never. This is a quote from Fox 32. The food was never brought to the school or provided to the students. So the students never.
They just never got lunch at all.
Right.
Well, she says later that the massive quantities of chicken were never served to the students because they may contain bone.
Are you
Shut the
serious?
fuck
Are you
up.
serious? That's
Yeah.
the reason.
Shut the fuck up. Oh, yeah. Okay. Upon closer review, she discovered individual invoices signed by Liddell for massive. I'm assuming Liddell is the lunch lady.
Provider.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
For massive quantities of chicken wings, an item that was never served to students because they contained bones. Shut the fuck up. How does this all come full circle?
God, I hope they were supposed to be boneless wings.
Shut the fuck
If they were
up.
supposed to be boneless wings, it's justified.
She
That's so. This is so
She's
insane.
the protagonist. If they were supposed to be boneless wings and she was frying some up for day one, she's like, you know what? It's usually meatloaf and sloppy joes. We're going all out with chicken wings during COVID. These kids are eating good.
Yeah.
Day one, she opens up a bag of boneless wings, finds a bone in them, and goes, this just
do
ain't
it."
gonna do.
All 11,000 of these chicken wings come
I,
to my house.
I gotta find something to do with
I guess I
these.
have to take them. I must. It's
I'm
my duty.
serving my community.
the
It's my duty.
caveat with that is they were never taken to the school.
Well,
Yeah, that's the thing. She
no,
literally
she stopped at home to check.
she
Come on.
went to like Gordon Food Service or she went to like the
Yeah.
distro or whatever and then just went right back to her house. Came back to the school with the van empty and then was like, all right,
Yeah, that's another
patted
thing.
off her hands. My work here's done.
She had to have come from the school initially.
right, because she had the van.
She had the van. I'm assuming, well, maybe they just let her keep the card.
Probably.
But I was going to say maybe she had to get the card, but she had to get the van regardless.
Yeah.
Come to the school, get the van, drive to the distro, pick
Yeah.
up 11,000 cases of chicken wings,
I mean,
probably
it-
over a year.
It was probably more like 10 cases of chicken wings per or something
Well,
like
that's
that,
the
you would
thing.
assume. Because it depends on how big the school is. It's, like, I don't know. We don't know the numbers of how many
I can find out the numbers.
per week. You know what I'm saying?
She only got found out because
Hang on, no. We still have an issue because that's 916 cases a month. That's a lot of chicken wings.
Yeah, I want. Well,
it
here's
was the school district.
yeah. It depends on how big the school district is.
900 a month.
If it's like 1,000 kids per class,
But if it's 1,000 kids per class, there's no way. Even if each kid is getting 6 wings, all right?
Mhm.
If each kid gets 6 wings, that's 152 wings a month each kid is getting. They're not driving to 152 stops
yeah,
for chicken wings. And that's being generous with the numbers.
yeah. I see what you mean.
Like, this is the first time I've heard about a school delivering lunches regardless during COVID, which again, it's probably the smart thing to do because kids are paying or parents are paying for those lunches.
Right.
But on the flip side, you got to make sure it's also doable.
The families and parents were picking the food up from the school.
I
that was
see.
the plan.
They were picking up lunches from the school.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Interesting. So there should have been. So then that makes it even.
Nobody said anything.
Yeah, that makes it even weirder.
Did no one show up then? Did no one actually pick up lunch?
Right. That either means no one picked up lunch or people showed up and then there weren't lunches and they didn't say anything and left. That doesn't make sense. Someone had to have complained. There was probably. I wonder if I don't even fucking know, dude. Because someone had to have said something. Some parent of some student had to have said something to some school board member or some member of like the higher staff. You know,
this goes one of two ways, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, either they show up, and here's my theory: they show up and she's there because she's the lunch lady.
Mm-hmm.
They show up to pick up the lunch, and she goes, "Oh no, we're delivering them." Or, oh, no, you don't pick them up here. And they go, oh, okay. And then they leave.
Them on a mad goose chase, essentially.
Yeah, and then they leave, and they're like, oh, these chicken wings never showed up.
Right.
Or, like you said, they just aren't showing up, which I'm putting my money on that. Because, like, most people still worked. Especially if you have a kid. I feel like you're probably still working to provide, right? So, like, you're already dealing with COVID work environment.
Right.
Trying to work around that. I don't see you leaving every day to go pick up lunch from the school and drive it back to your house. And drive back
if
to
that's
work.
if that's what the school has in mind, if that's what the school has in mind to get these lunches, then I think you work your schedule around that. Like I think that there probably were parents not picking up lunches. I feel like that's probably
you were correct. It was Gordon Food Services.
It was GFC.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying
or
so.
GFS.
Like if it's like 3 weeks into this and she's there for 3 weeks, 5 days a week, getting ready to make food, and no one came, she's like, well, I'm just going to take the budget for food and keep it because no one's going to notice it's gone.
I guess.
Regardless, what do you do with this many chicken wings?
Yeah, I want to know, like, it seems like, again.
And only them.
It seems like a situation where someone else was in on this, too. Like the last one. I don't know.
216-859-8699 is that number to text in your wing order.
I'm Jeff Stritch. I don't know Shane. I never met Shane. He's not on air right now. I'm on air. But you can catch Shane when he's off air because he's actually on air doing his show off air weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on WSRRradio.com.
So, your friends invited you to their annual Super Bowl party, but you can't remember if that's the sport that's played with the sticks or with the bat. No fear, just break out your trusty sporting event shirt from GenericClothes.com. But what's that you say? It's election season and your family has color-coded their entire personality again? Go ahead and play your part as the one true middleman by wearing your ambiguous political statement t-shirt. Yes, for all of your unwanted social interactions, geopolitical statements, or ideologies about the fashion industry in general, GenericClothes.com has you covered. Once again, that's GenericClothes.com. Your dad didn't leave for cigarettes. He's out in the car, listening to the Rebel Radio Show.
We got a text during the break from the Pidge.
Yeah.
He said boneless wings at B-Dubs right now are $15 for 10 wings.
Whoa, that's a scam.
I don't think...
It's not a good deal.
I pulled up B-Dubs website because I feel like I've been there recently and it wasn't $15 for 10 wings.
Mm-hmm.
It says there's a bundle for $8.99 for 10 wings and fries. So I don't know what kind of Arizona-ass prices you're dealing with.
Yeah, no, you're paying too much money for wings.
Who's your
friend.
wing guy?
You got to get a new wing guy.
You got to get this lady in prison. Well, she's in prison for 9 more years.
Yeah.
But in 9 years.
9 years. Find that wing lady.
I wonder what they did with all the wings.
Ate them. I'm assuming.
Think they repoed them?
I am assuming that she was giving them out. I
to her whole family.
Yeah, I'm figuring that she was eating chicken wings for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
And was like handing them out feverishly to everyone that came to her house.
Yeah.
It was like, take some wings, please.
Yeah.
I have way too many.
Well, it's like when people were stockpiling toilet paper during COVID. She was stockpiling wings.
She was.
She was the wing lady.
Smart.
Also,
honestly.
I know it's not what we're talking about, but you ever realize the fact we call it B-dubs still for BW3s, even though it's Buffalo Wild Wings? That's BWW.
Yeah, I don't really call it. I mean, I guess I call it B-dubs. I
call it B-dubs.
I call it Buffalo Wild Wings.
Do you?
I say Buffalo Wild Wings.
I say B-dubs, man.
Full legal name?
I full legal name it. Because it's not B-dubs.
Well, growing up, it was BW3s. That's what we went to. Do you remember BW3s?
I mean, I remember, and I know, but
I
like,
never heard that until you.
In my house, we had BW3s.
Yeah, I remember Buffalo Wild Wings,
which is also just BWW.
Right, but that's it. That's all I've ever called it.
The reason for it is like the parent company I think is Australian, and there's something else in the full working title with a W in Australia, that makes it 3 Ws.
Right, BW3s.
So, yeah, in the early 2000s, I think it was referred to frequently as BW3s.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of rebranded to Buffalo Wild Wings, and it became B-dubs.
Yeah. I've only ever called it Buffalo Wild Wings. I full legal name it.
Well, speaking of B-dubs, Google is illegally a monopoly now in the eyes of the law.
Yes!
That's how you segue, boys and girls.
Finally! I love it. I love playing that game.
The federal court, I believe it was the federal court, I believe it was the federal court that ruled that Google is now a illegal monopoly and they have to take actions to change that, which is a weird concept because when you think about it, Google is 100% a monopoly, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely in certain like internet aspects, 100%.
Well, because we even have the fucking joke, the SpongeBob, everything's Chrome in the future, right? Because everything runs off Google Chrome now.
Mm-hmm.
You have Microsoft Edge on your computer just to install Google Chrome.
Yeah, I feel like you don't hear much discourse about other search engines.
Yeah.
And that used to be something that like was actually discussed is like, which one do you use?
Right.
Which one do you use? It was like a Apple, Android, Samsung situation,
Yeah.
but more fine-tuned to like search engines and stuff. And now everyone just uses Google.
Right.
You
So
know?
I understand the lawsuit or the ruling, I guess, because it's an official ruling. It's done with, and they're going to try and overturn, I suppose, Google's
Right.
litigation. But I understand the ruling in terms, if you look at it, of like, well, you have to sign in with Google for everything. That's always like the default option. Sign in with Google, right?
Mhm.
Or you have to have a Google account to use this service. You have to have a Google account to use YouTube.
Yeah, right. Right.
You have to Docs, Drive, all the different slides, things like that are through Google now.
Yeah.
And that's the free alternative to Microsoft.
Yeah.
Unless you want to use Prezi.
Right.
Heyo. Not sponsored by Prezi.
But
we'd like to be.
Please. I would like it.
Imagine watching us on YouTube every Monday and it's just a Prezi slideshow for all the slides.
That'd be sick. I'd love that.
Going bubble to bubble.
Yeah.
We've mentioned Prezi on the show way more than anyone has in the past 20 years, by the way.
Prezi was a great
no.
slideshow.
Prezi was not.
I liked it.
It was
thought
slow as
fun.
shit even at the time.
I thought it was fun. It made me feel like I was going on an adventure in a presentation.
I think that's what it was supposed to do. So I mean, at least it worked for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, Google has a monopoly in terms of you have to use their services for everything, and I fully understand that. Hell, this Chromebook I'm on right now runs on Chrome OS, so like it is its own operating service, despite it being an Acer Chromebook.
Right.
But the grounds that they're claiming it is a monopoly on is more so the fact that because it's so popular and because it's the #1 search engine,
Mhm.
it is paying companies like Apple and Samsung to be the default search engine on their phones,
Mhm.
which I don't think that as much of a monopoly as Google is, I don't think that's a fair analysis of a monopoly. They are the #1 used search engine.
Mm-hmm.
By what means, I guess is questionable. But once you're at that point, if you have the money to be like, hey, let's work out a deal exclusively,
Mhm.
and it's not saying you can't use Bing or DuckDuckGo on your iPhone.
Right.
It's just the default, and you can change the default.
I think the point more so comes like in a bullying aspect of like Google has the money to outbid any other competition in terms of, well, like, yeah, Google's offering $10 to pay or to advertise or be the search engine on iPhones, let's say. So it doesn't matter when DuckDuckGo can only offer $3 or something like that for Samsung phones, or and then like that's the other thing, Google phones now. The Google has their own phone now.
Right.
So like, are you going to?
Can you use other search engines on like Google Pixels?
Well, like, are you going to get a choice? Because like in the scenario that we were talking about before we went on is now you open up a brand new iPhone and you open up the Safari app and it takes you to Google. That's just default, right? You don't get a choice, but I feel like down the line it will become a situation of you open up a new iPhone and you have you open up the Safari app and you have the choice between DuckDuckGo, Bing,
Google,
and Google.
To be fair, to my knowledge, on an iPhone, and I will admit, when I had an iPhone, I just had the Chrome app downloaded because I hated using Safari. But to my recollection, when you make a new tab in Safari, the default browser is Google, but like the suggested things under it are always like Bing, Yahoo, like they are there visibly.
I think that like, so from my understanding, I'll open up a new tab and it just searches Google. It's like a blank search bar, and anything I type in is instantly searched on Google.
Yeah.
It doesn't show you like the boxes under it anymore. Interesting.
Yeah.
It just takes you straight to a Google search page, like you just looked it up on Google.
Well, that's the conversation now, because something has to happen. They've made a ruling on this. Google is a monopoly, and they have to scale back in their market, I guess.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? It's not going to be something where like, oh, I can't use Google on this anymore because that's unreasonable. But I think you're right in the terms of like, on a very minute level, maybe we get an iPhone where when you start it, along with picking your language settings, you pick your search browser.
Yeah, right. I think you pick your language settings, and like you said, you put in your personal information, and then it asks you for your email, and then after your email, it might ask you like, which browser do you prefer, or which, I think that's probably the most likely outcome of like what we will see, but I don't know.
Do people even use their actual mail on their phone, or do they just have the Gmail app?
Oh, I use Mail.
I don't use
Mail
either.
and Safari.
I have a third party. I use Edison Mail because it basically does what like the iPhone Mail app does, where you can add multiple accounts, but it does it well and it has a good spam filter. So I use Edison Mail for everything.
Interesting.
Gmail.
Yeah, I use the Mail. I use like the iPhone Mail app. Never had any problems with it.
Well, I also use DuckDuckGo though. So like I have a Samsung, and that is the default browser is Google on it. But I have DuckDuckGo downloaded.
That's interesting. So is there on your phone, which is a Samsung?
Yeah, it's
right?
a Galaxy Z Flip.
Okay. So on your Galaxy, you open up like the standard Safari app, right?
So yeah, by standard it's Google.
And that takes you to Google. Does it? Yeah,
it's automatically taking me to Chrome.
Right.
But I have DuckDuckGo in my hotbar.
Right. I see. Interesting.
But if I wanted to, I could go into the setting just like on an Apple and change your default browser. So
right. And I think what it's saying is like what the legal system is trying to get at is when you're setting up your phone, it will make you pick the option as opposed to just automatically if you want to
assigning
search
it to Google and having you change it later.
Right.
My question is then, because right now, to my knowledge, the only, at least on an Apple, I think, the only search engines that you can choose from without downloading anything else are Google and Yahoo. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't even know.
Because then would other providers have to then pay or work out a deal with Apple to allow them to even offer their search engine?
I don't know. I feel like after this, it's something where like they would almost have to include them.
Well, that's the weird part is this law is basically opening up to saying, well, you guys, Apple, let's look at Apple. Apple, you have to allow other search engines to be options. Right. Even though they already are, you have to allow other search engines to be options off the get-go.
Yeah,
by default.
right out the box. Right.
But that also looks at, if I'm DuckDuckGo, well, now I have to strike a deal with Apple if I want mine to be on there. Because even if they pass this ruling, That doesn't mean search engines like Bing or DuckDuckGo are going to be like, all right, time to talk to Apple.
Right.
Because they could still look at it as like, well, we're losing money. No one's going to pick Bing, so why are we putting it on there and wasting money?
Right.
So literally nothing could change.
That's very interesting.
Again, to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, 216-859-8699, I think I know Google does. We all know Google does. I think Yahoo is typically like the alternate on most phones.
Yeah.
Like by default, that you don't have to download an app.
Right.
I think those are the only two.
So
but with this, nothing could change if no one's like, okay, well, time to put our app on there too, or our provider on there.
Well, here's my counterpoint to that.
Yeah.
I think because they would have to strike a deal, a brand or a company like DuckDuckGo could lowball the shit out of Apple and just be like, well, this is, because they probably
and then
don't.
take them back to court and be like, well, this is what we can afford, and we're trying to get on, and you won't let us.
Exactly.
Apple could be implicated in this with Google because they have this deal together.
And I think that's where this is getting a lot of traction too. Is this is one of many, and trust me, I'm all against monopolization because capitalism isn't bad. Monopolization ruins capitalism. That's how it works. So the fact that we're breaking up monopolies is great. It's just a really interesting place to start with Google.
A technological monopoly?
Well, being a search engine at its core. I know it's a lot more than that now, but it seems like they're more so focused on the search engine aspect of it and not the other products Google makes.
Yeah, I feel like it's because in my eyes, I feel like going after the search engine first is like the broadest stroke that you can take in terms of going after Google. Because that is what started them. That is what is that's what they're most known for. That is what has been most consistent about their brand.
Yeah.
That is the most reliable aspect of Google, I would argue, is that they're always a search engine and they always have been a search engine. So like, I think you go after them, you're going for the neck essentially. And then from there, all the other stuff all the Google this and the Google Wallet and the Google Photos and all that will fall off later,
Oh, that's right. They do have their own photos.
Google Photos is crazy. My family uses Google Photos, and I can't see the pictures that are shared in albums and stuff like that unless I allow Google access to all my pictures in my photo album. Even if you don't
share one.
Even if I don't share a single one.
You just want to look.
Even if I just want to look. So I can't.
That's crazy.
I know. And my family's like, why don't you have Google Photos? I'm like, because it's crazy.
That's insane.
It's wild. Yeah. Yeah. I know.
The only time I've seen someone actively use Google Photos is I used to work with a guy who, anytime he would show me pictures, it would be on Google Photos. He opened up Google Photos and would show me these pictures from like 20 years ago.
Interesting.
And he literally, and maybe this is why, he would scroll through like 200 photos at a time of just random fucking shit that had no correlation.
Right.
He'd be like, hey, let me show you what I won at the casino. And as he's scrolling, it'd be like, oh, here's my bedroom from 2005. Why is that in there? Maybe it's a Google Photos thing.
Random. Yeah, like it's just all of your photos it just collects all of your photos from anything that is.
And then it puts your tag on it too, so people can't take them because it's public.
Yeah. Yeah, Google Photos is Google in general. I'm up with down with big Google.
I hope, and I don't know, does Google outright own YouTube?
Yes.
I think
so. They do?
Think so.
Okay.
Yes.
I was going to say my only hope from this would be that you don't need a Google account to log into YouTube now, but if they own it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. But I think this opens the door for like Microsoft and Apple lawsuits and things like that.
Yeah, and I think it's just, like you said, it's good in general that we're just chopping the heads off of big monopolies like this. I think that's just a step in the right direction. It will be interesting to have to pick your search engine again.
Right.
If what we're reading here is like, and how we think it's going to come to fruition, it does.
Yeah.
It will be interesting in a couple of years to see like, okay, well, I opened up my new iPhone and I have to pick between maybe 10 different search engines or like 5 different search engines to make my standard search engine.
Right.
I think that will be an interesting aspect going forward.
And again, that's pure speculation. That could be not how this works out at all.
Yeah, right.
And again, I think Google's legal department right now is trying to overturn this, but it has, as of right now, it's an official ruling.
Right.
And even in the ruling, they don't like give an outline of what has to be done. Is the crazy part, because it's such a weird blanket monopoly.
Yeah, right. Search engines as a whole is just, I feel like that's a tough.
Oh, Microsoft also brought a lawsuit like this against Google.
Microsoft brought a lawsuit against Google for this. Interesting. Why though? Because they're not getting enough money out of Google? Because they undercut Edge? I bet you that I wonder if Microsoft holds a grudge because no one uses Edge.
It was kind of the same. So during the late 1990s, when the Justice Department targeted the software maker in an antitrust lawsuit accusing it of abusing the dominance of its Windows operating system on personal computers to lock out competition.
Interesting.
So it was the same thing that we're doing with Google, but now, but
it was for Windows.
It was for Microsoft.
Right. Yeah, using Explorer.
Right.
That's crazy. So Microsoft is butthurt, is what it is now.
Pretty
that
much.
Google was doing what they were doing in
Pretty
the
much.
90s.
Yeah.
That's insane, dude.
I forgot about Explorer and like Mozilla Firefox and stuff like that.
Who still uses Mozilla Firefox?
Yeah, bring that shit back.
My dad used Mozilla Firefox.
Yeah, it's so weird. All the different search engines. Like, I remember thinking, like, this is weird that there are so many options. Why don't we all just use Google? And now everyone uses Google, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, shit.
Let's go back.
Like growing up, it was always Internet Explorer. Like that was the internet.
Right.
And I know before that, all the boomers are gonna say, "Well, it was AOL."
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't around for AOL. I mean, I
Right.
was, but we had Explorer too by the time.
Right.
So like growing up, it was just Internet Explorer, and then Google started to come out. And this is before it was Chrome. It was just Google.
Yeah, right.
And you could get it on your desktop. But that's also the time you started seeing the popularity of alternate browsers.
Right.
And I remember my dad getting Mozilla Firefox and me not knowing what the fuck that was. And I'm like, why am I not just using Internet Explorer? Why do you have this downloaded? It's the same thing.
Right.
Also, I know people that still have Mozilla Firefox downloaded.
Good for them.
And terrible layout. I don't understand how you guys do that.
I enjoy Edge. Honestly.
I cannot stand anything Edge.
I remember when Windows
Not Adam Copeland.
first made that big push into that like square boxy setup
Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah, like the Windows 10 era.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and everything looked like that. The phone, they had that phone, the Windows phone
Yep,
that looked
yep.
like that.
They redesigned the whole Xbox layout so everything was boxes.
The Xbox layout was all
yeah,
boxes.
the home screen just turned into. There's a name for it, and I wish I could remember.
Yeah, I don't remember the name for it, but yeah, I remember that and thinking like, this shit sucks.
Yeah,
Like, why
everything's
are we doing?
very fucking boring.
Yeah,
now.
why are we doing this? Let's just make things not look boxy all the time.
All the tech companies switched their default font to like Calibri.
Yeah.
They all use the same fonts. They took out all the color. The Windows flag isn't a flag; it's just 4 squares now.
It is very interesting how you can watch the trends in terms of like things got really sleek and now they're
Yeah.
getting like fun and bubbly and colorful again.
We're
and
bringing
it-
back that early 2000s 90s aesthetic.
Right. It seems like brands are starting to want their individuality back because customers are feeling that sort of way. You know what I mean?
Pull up the first couple Google logos, and if you're listening at home, pull up a browser in Mozilla Firefox and look
Yeah.
up the first couple Google logos. They're wild, dude. They look fucking dope, and it's weird to think like that is what was on the home screen when you went there. But like they used to be fucking awesome. Like look at that. These are just like artistic ones.
Yeah.
These aren't the Google ones. But like they had ones that were in boxes and shit. There you go. That first one's crazy.
Oh, wow.
I remember Google
Yeah.
with the exclamation points. I remember that being a thing.
I remember the exclamation point. That was when we had our big, thick back monitor on. It was like a big desktop.
Yeah, well, they took out all the fun of it, and you could see where they just went to default font.
I remember it being a big deal. Like you could type special things into Google and you could play.
Yeah.
You could like do a barrel roll.
Yeah, and it would
it
shake the screen around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Or like zero gravity or something was one of them.
Yeah, there were a couple different ones that you could do. I forget.
Yeah.
I forget all of them now, but
And then you could just play with the Google logo.
yeah.
And when you didn't have Wi-Fi, you would play the Steve dinosaur game.
Yeah.
Is it called Steve?
I think that's still a thing. I think you can still
Yeah,
do
you
that.
can still do that. You can
Mhm.
even download that app, I'm pretty sure now, right?
Really?
To
Yeah,
play
I
the
have
dinosaur
it.
game.
And I remember like it was a big deal. Like you could play Pac-Man on
Yes.
Google for a long time, and Google would like change their picture for like special days.
Yeah.
I don't think they do that
still
anymore.
do that.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh.
When it's like Mother's Day, they'll put like a mom or something in there. For Martin Luther King Jr. Day, they put Martin Luther King in there. And yeah.
Well, I'm glad they still do that.
Hey, I just missed the old YouTube logo on the original iPods.
Oh, yeah.
This bad boy.
Oh,
yeah.
The TV. Yeah. That's
like
crazy. We had no concept of apps, and they're like, well, let's just put a picture of an old TV. That'll get. There was no branding.
Yeah,
it
no
didn't say
logo.
YouTube on it.
Yeah.
It was classic, man. That's when everything wasn't just you had to have your name as the brand.
Yeah. Man, it is really wild watching the progress. Like,
I think
iPhones are the same. It feels the same, and like I think that you could
it's so corporate now.
Well, it's interesting though, because I think that you could hand someone from 20 years ago when the first iPhones were coming out.
Yeah.
I think you could hand them a modern day iPhone, and they would pretty seamlessly get it. Like there might be a like Face ID, and there might be a couple things that they have to get used to, but for the most part, I think that they would like. It looks and feels pretty similar to, and I mean that's part of the reason why people like iPhone. Like that's why they've been so popular for so long.
I
guess,
would
too.
think they would believe it's a knockoff. Only because if you look at like the OG iPod displays and how the apps looked, they're all with depth. All of the apps had depth on the screen and they're bubbly.
Yeah.
Now everything's flat. Across all phones, all apps, all the apps are flat.
There's no depth.
There's no depth. They used to be bubbly. Even the fucking slide to unlock had depth in it.
Right.
They all had depth. When you changed the volume, it had pills.
Yeah.
Like that's a crazy concept to me is they took depth out of all graphic design.
Yeah.
Google logo.
That's the
it used to be bulbous.
Right.
There's no depth in it now.
That's the sleek modernism.
Yeah.
Coming
it's
into
crazy.
play.
Look at McDonald's. McDonald's is the perfect example of it.
Yeah. Interesting. Why did that happen? The 80s and 90s were so fun and cool and rad.
I blame the generation before us because they're also the ones that have gray and white houses.
Yeah.
I don't know. 216-859-8699. Let me see your bulbous designs. WSRRradio.com, of course, the homepage for all of our content, like the Rebel Radio Show. We're live at 5 every Monday on WSRR Radio. The Rebel Podcast comes out the following Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern across all streaming platforms. Spotify, Google, Pandora, YouTube, Amazon, Anchor, iHeart, you name it. We're on it. Again, that's the Rebel Podcast, 10 a.m. Eastern every Wednesday, but you can get all of our other great shows on WSRRradio.com as well as the schedule, runtimes, and more. Shows like Shaney's Off Air.
That is the show where we talk as if there is no air in the room.
We've got, well, yeah, kind of. no fresh air anyway.
Yeah.
The Pigeonhole, AIP, Beyond Bounds, a whole bunch of other great content, WSRRradio.com. Again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, GenericClothes.com, Clearview Windows in Northern Ohio, and Synergy Music Studio out of Chicago. If you're not in Chicago, you can still send your unmastered files to Synergy through their reamping program, and they can get them radio ready or album ready. Again, make sure you check out WSRR Radio 10 p.m. on weekdays for True Vault Escapades. That's the Fallout-based radio drama. Comes out 10 p.m. every weekday. And make sure you give A-Bomb Radio True Vault Escapades a follow as well on Instagram and catch their podcast. But until next time, I've been Radio's Rebel DJ Style. To my right, Shaney.
Bye, everyone.
On the board is Jules.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Till I think it's over. I fight the feeling, break the cross. The sunny days are gone, I'm searching.